energy. We're energetic beings, and energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's only transferred. So, when we die, that's not it. Our energy, our heart, our soul, and our spirit is going to be transferred somewhere else. So when you realize that, it's so beautiful, knowing that it's ongoing and it's not going to be the end. And maybe this is just the beginning of this beautiful journey. So it just helps to dissolve that fear that so many people, have.
Yeah, I almost did die in an ayahuasca ceremony. I felt like I touched what comes next, and man, death is like the most mysterious topic there is, and I would love to just say my piece on it. Death, I feel, is like the grand test. Like it is the ultimate test at the end. And I feel like all of this work that we're doing now with our detox and spirituality, I think all of that prepares us to have as clean of a death as possible, and I really feel like when people who pass on to the next world are on drugs, morphine, alcohol, they're drugged up in hospitals, they're kept alive for decades with cancers that are like, just basically dying for 20 years as opposed to living and then a quick death, I really feel that actually alters the place that we go to after death. I feel like just like when we sleep, we launch into a new world. And for me, at least, the state that I'm in when I fall asleep is very indicative of the types of dreams that I'm going to have and the level of restoration I'll get in my sleep. So I just feel like that death space to really like pass that test is to be in a space of like trustedness, like oneness, maybe even meditating if that's possible, and like launching off into that next plane. And then what I feel is that we get recycled back into the earth. This is just my opinion, we get recycled, and when we get recycled, we start off with, all of if we cleaned our karma, we start off in like in that state, and maybe it's not exactly like, Josh left at 98. He needs to get to 100. Like now he's at 98 mana points for the next lifetime. But I do feel like it's some sort of process where you're cleaning and unraveling your karma, and maybe it doesn't even have to be karma. It could just be multi-generational pain, or your soul's pain, and then you come back. And if you didn't catch any of the lessons, you get put into a same exact situation, And I even feel like we choose our families. Like I feel like we choose and I haven't really talked about this type of stuff on my YouTube channel yet, but fuck it, I'm going into it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it just feels right now. So, yeah.
I've heard that as well. I've heard that we really do. We do choose. We do choose a lot when we come back to this life. Yeah, I've heard that as well. So that resonates with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, go ahead.
So you're saying, I'm kind of just like sort of picturing a washing machine. So we're just going around and around in cycles. So yeah, like this life is sort of like a preparation for when we die and for how we come back.
Or I think it's just like a game with different levels, and like the goal is I guess the goal would be, the thing is there's not really a goal because everybody has a different timeline and a different like role, like the man who's taking out the garbage, we don't want him to be resentful about taking out the garbage, right? That doesn't mean that he's worse or not as good or not as enlightened as someone else, right? So like there's different timelines, there's different roles, just like there's different animals in nature with different functions. I feel like every soul has like a little different function that they're doing on the planet, and they have their own little timeline. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a little out there, but yeah.
No, well, this is resonating with me. I don't know if you believe in psychics or any of that sort of stuff, but during a extended water fast I did a few years ago, we worked with a psychic, and she was amazing, and it just resonates with me what you were saying, because she is into all this sort of stuff, and she was reading my past lives, and she was saying she could always see that I always seemed to end up being stuck in this toxic romantic relationship where this partner was almost suppressing me, and kind of she used the word drugging me to keep me suppressed and keep my uniqueness suppressed. And that resonated with me because, as I told you, my romantic relationship was all about the drugs. So that was really interesting. And she said to me that this life that I'm in now is the first time that I've ever broken out of that phase in that relationship for the first time ever. So yeah, that really resonates with me, what you were saying. So yeah, for the first time I've come back to earth maybe, and I've finally broken out of it, and I'm getting to that next level, which is kind of what it feels like. So yeah, it's interesting.
And I feel like you probably, and just in my perspective, I feel like you wouldn't have to do that, next time you came here. You wouldn't have to do that same, you wouldn't have to learn that same lesson. There'll be more lessons, and more hardships, but maybe not.
Yeah. So you sort of, in your ayahuasca experience, you sort of died and then came back to life?
Well, some people have like an ayahuasca trip where they see death, and they hallucinate, or they're being the ayahuasca brings them to their death in a very safe yet very scary way, like where their ego maybe dies. Mine was super different. I was basically fasting, dieting like crazy, drinking ayahuasca, doing yoga, meditating like super, super intensely at this point for 2.5 years. And I was in my dieta, isolated in the Amazon, and I was like emaciated, like 150 pounds, doing a lot of fasting, doing an apprenticeship with shamans, and had severe mercury poisoning, and all I was eating was fish and plantains, so more mercury was coming into my body when I did eat. A lot of the time I was fasting. And I was drinking ayahuasca 3 or 4 times a week. It was like as intense as, like, I was literally being electrocuted by the universe with how much stuff was going on. And I was in a ceremony, and I drank a cup of medicine, and I didn't feel anything. And for the first time in 25 ayahuasca ceremonies, I said, I'm going to drink another cup of medicine, because historically I always trusted. I said, okay, I'm going to take this 1 cup. If I don't have an experience, then my experience is a lack of experience, like that's. And I took a 2nd cup, and 20 minutes later, I started purging violently from both ends, violently purging for like 40, 50 minutes. And it got to a point where like I was like literally crawling back into the maloca, and I said like, ayúdame to the shamans. I was like, and it's funny because everyone in the room was laughing, right? Everyone in the room was laughing because like that's ayahuasca, like you purge,
Okay.
But they didn't understand. The people there at the center did not understand how much pain I was in, Only the shamans did. And as soon as I said ayúdame, they came over to me, and they were like literally fanning spirits away from me. Like, and in my consciousness, I genuinely felt like the Grim Reaper was there to take me. Like I felt some type of presence that was like getting ready for me. My life was like about to end. Yeah. And they were fanning these spirits away and telling me to tranquilo, calm down. And eventually I got to this point where I gave up. I said, I'm done with this suffering. I can't do this anymore. And I actually left my body, and I was like, my body was convulsing on the ground, but I wasn't in it, and I was like above it. And the shamans were communicating with me, like, get back in your fucking body, They were like,
really?
Like they were. I don't know exactly what words they were using, because like they were talking maybe Shipibo, and I was just like, no, I'm done. I'm done. And at one point, I even remember one of the shamans even said, like, I think he said, like, is he gone? I think he's gone. I don't remember the words he used, but I remember his demeanor was like he gave up on me. One of the shamans gave up on me. The other shaman, who was a woman who I was very connected to, she did not give up on me, and she just like pushed her boyfriend aside and was like, no. And eventually I came back into my body, and like, I survived, obviously, but to
what
me,
made you come back into your body?
Say it again.
What made you come back into your body?
I basically, at the very last second, when every 99% of me gave up on this life and this suffering that I was going through, I just said, I just don't even remember the words I used in my mind, but I just said, or I just felt, I can't give up. I felt like I would give up on humanity. I felt like it wasn't, and I also knew, I fucking knew that I would have to do it again. Like, or
I was
that,
just thinking that, like you did.
yeah, yeah. Like, I just felt like I would have to do it again, you know? And the forces in the room that were occupying the room at that time, the dark forces, I felt them, I tasted them. I wanted nothing to, like, I felt like I was going with them. If I left, they were taking me somewhere, and I wanted nothing to do with them. Nothing to do with them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why would you have to go with the dark forces?
See, yeah, this might get into a tricky subject, but, you know, I feel like I don't feel like it's just this bliss and this light of Jesus or God when we die, no matter what our life is like. Yeah, I really don't feel that way. That's not what I feel like we go exactly to what we're connected to, you know, and you know, we go exactly to the, yeah, it's hard for me to talk about this publicly, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I've had some friends that have done ayahuasca and DMT and those sorts of things, and I don't know if it's sort of the same thing, but what you're saying resonates in the way that the experience that you have and where you go is exactly in relation to what's going on inside and your spiritual and emotional levels and those sorts of things. So, yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say, one more thing, maybe to clear things up a little bit. And again, this is just my perspective, but I feel like if we can learn how to navigate the spiritual world as a human, then when we pass, we actually are able to navigate as a soul. It's like you have to learn, it's almost like you have to learn how to travel in those worlds, and then when you pass, you're able to travel. Whereas I feel like if you don't learn to navigate, you get confused and swept up by forces that may not have total integrity. You know, like I don't feel like all spirituality is divine, or sorry, I don't feel like all spirituality is light. Like, I feel there's light and there's dark forces, and I don't feel like any spiritual experience is a like good experience because it's spiritual. You know, like I feel like from my experience with ayahuasca is that I could plug into these dark forces, and yeah, it was a super spiritual experience, but it didn't give me any growth or any more light in my body or any more peace, you know.